Well, it's my opinion that we're living in the very best times of our lives. And I believe it's the very best time of our life to stop second-guessing ourselves and to gain a competitive advantage. Now, the reason why I say this is because today's customers have a need for speed. And whilst you're out there second-guessing yourself, they're already shopping with your competitor. Now, some of the latest data that's coming out from the 2020 Sales Establishment Report demonstrates that 60% of customers say no 4 times before they say yes to a sales offer. However, 48% of salespeople never make up a single follow-up call. In addition, 80% of sales require 5 follow-up calls, whereas 44% of salespeople give up after 1 follow-up call. And 35 to 50% of sales go to the vendor who has the very first response. So let me give you an example. One of my clients in Melbourne, Australia, hey, make sure you turn those cameras back on. I'm still watching you. One of my clients in Australia, right in the middle of the pandemic last year, they called me in July and they said, Daniel, we've just had this incredible increase in our sales revenues. And I said, well, what did you learn from this? They said, Daniel, there's 2 things. There is 2 things that we have total control over. And I said, well, what are they? They said, the first thing that you have total control over is your level of activity. It doesn't matter what's happening outside of your business. It doesn't matter what's happening outside of your border. It doesn't matter what's happening next door. You control your level of action. And I said, that's the first thing. I said, well, what's the second thing? And they said, the second thing is you have 100% control over your attitude. Your attitude is the way you think, the way that you feel, the way that you move towards things in your life. Now, these people right in the middle of the pandemic, where their competitors shut their doors, where their competitors went into hibernation, where their competitors stopped making telephone calls, these people increased their activity. Now, in their field, in the best month, the average company makes 600 sales calls in a month. In the middle of the pandemic, the worst thing that we've experienced in our lifetime, they were making 6,000 telephone calls every single month because they had 2 things that they could control. First of all was their level of activity, and they got busy and they made 6,000 telephone calls. And the second thing they did is they controlled their attitude. They focused on where they wanted to go. They said, no excuses. And they got on the phone and they picked up the phone 6,000 times. And by doing that, it netted them an additional $2 million worth of sales. And this is why I say it's the very best time in our lives to stop second-guessing ourselves and start gaining a competitive advantage. And this is what today's all about. So welcome and thank you for joining me. In today's session, you're going to learn how to stop second-guessing yourself, and you're going to learn how to gain your competitive advantage. Today, not tomorrow, not next week, but you're going to learn how to get your competitive advantage today. And how are we going to do this? We're going to do it without reading another boring self-help book. Who here reads self-help books? I've been reading the bloody things for the past 30 years, and I feel like a self-help junkie. But I get to the end of the book, and you know what? I actually feel dumber. I feel there must be something else to learn. How can I apply all this? This is a masterclass today. I'm going to give you idea after idea after idea. Now, I don't know which idea is going to be the best idea for you, but I know that if you just take one of these ideas today and you implement it, you will see an immediate improvement. First thing, you'll stop second-guessing yourself. And secondly, you'll start to gain your competitive advantage. So thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate that you're here. So who is this training for today? This is for business owners whose market is in a decline. This training is for entrepreneurs who need to reinvent themselves. And this is for serious professionals Oh, ladies and gentlemen, can I just ask you to all put on your microphones on mute, please, just to help me with the training. Thank you so much. This is also for serious professionals who want to increase job safety and job security. So, are you number one? Are you here because your market is in a decline? Are you earning less money this year than you were the year before? Are you an entrepreneur who needs to reinvent themselves? Or are you one of those serious professionals who want to increase job safety and job security? So if you're one of these number one people, whose business or industry is in a decline? If your industry is in a decline, give me a little number one so I can see who you are. Whose industry is in a decline? Excellent. Excellent. Who's an entrepreneur who needs to reinvent themselves? Show me 2 fingers. Who needs to reinvent themselves? Excellent. Good. Who's a serious professional who wants to increase job safety and job security? Give me a number 3 if that's you. Okay, excellent. Well, you're in the right place today. Now, I want you to do something for me. I want you to go ahead and I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Unless you're driving. If you're driving, please leave your eyes open. But if you're not driving, you're at home, I'd like you to take everything out of your hands just for a moment. I want you to take everything out of your hands. And what I'd like you to do is I just want you to imagine that 2021 was a repeat of 2020. Imagine going all the way out to the end of this year, to December 2021. And this year was a repeat of 2020. And you started to fall further behind. And you found it harder to succeed. Imagine what this year would feel like, getting all the way out, if it was just a repeat of 2020. I want you to imagine going all the way out to the end of this year, and you've second-guessed yourself again and again. You've started to doubt yourself more and more. Just begin to imagine what type of year that would be for you. Is that the year that you want? Or are you looking for something different this year? Now, I want you to imagine a world where success is virtually guaranteed. I want you to imagine today having all the knowledge that you need to succeed. I want you to imagine having all the skills that you need to succeed. And I want you to imagine having all the confidence to succeed. I want you to imagine a world where your income grows 20 to 30%, maybe even 50% in the next 12 months. What type of world would that be for you? And I want you to begin to imagine if you could increase your income by 20 or 30 or even 40%, how that would make a big difference in your life. Imagine how proud your family would be of you if you increase your income by 20, 30 or even 50%. Imagine how safe you'd feel. Imagine how confident you'd become. Imagine how comfortable you'd be. Just begin to imagine that for 2021. Because if that is something that you'd like to learn, then that's great, because that's exactly what I'm going to be showing you to do today. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. In today's session, you are going to learn how to reduce your stress. Just out of curiosity, who likes to have stress in their life? Anybody here? No. So I'm going to show you how to reduce your stress. Who wants to feel more confident? Who would like to feel more confident? You know, one of the things that I've learned, and I've worked with more than 9,500 people around the world now, nobody ever comes to me and says, I have too much confidence. Nobody ever says, wow, I have too much confidence. Most people come to me and say, I don't have enough confidence. And if I just had a little bit more confidence, I'd go for what I truly wanted. So I'm going to show you how to become more confident today. We're also going to show you how to decrease customer deflection. What is customer deflection? Customer deflection is when your customers start to spend money with your competitors and you don't know why. And we're going to solve that problem, because if your customers go and spend money with your competitor and your competitor takes care of them and looks after them, those people aren't coming back. Not like the Terminator, I'll be back. No, they say, I won't be back. So we're going to ensure that there's no customer deflection in 2021. Fourthly, we're also going to have a look at how you can increase your emotional intelligence. And then finally, we're going to start to learn how we can make more money. Would anybody be angry here if they increase their income by 25 or 30% in the next 12 months? Who would be angry? Would any of your family be angry if you came home when you doubled your income? If you doubled your income and you came home and you told your family, hey, I've just doubled my income, do you think anybody would be angry at you? Would anybody be upset with you? No! They'd be over the moon. I know what my daughter would say. She'd say, Dad, buy me more Barbie dolls. I know where my wife would march me down to. She'd take me down to Louis Vuitton and she'd say, buy me another handbag. I've never heard somebody in my life say to me, I'm making too much money. I've worked with billionaires, and you know what billionaires say? I'm not making enough money. It's not because they're greedy. It's because what happens is if they don't make enough money, they can't help enough people. I want you to think about this. One of my clients, self-made billionaire, personal revenues of in excess of $8 billion per year, and he says, I'm not making enough money. And I asked the question, how do you mean? And he said, Daniel, if I only make $8 billion a year, I can't feed enough homeless children around the world. And I said, well, how many have you fed so far? And he said, 2 million of them, and it's not enough. And he says, I need to make more money. And I said, why? He said, so I can feed more starving children. And so nobody ever says I'm making too much money. I don't think you've ever written to me and said, Daniel, I'm making too much money. I'd like your bank account. I'd like to deposit a couple of $100,000 in there. Nobody says that. But what happens is most people say I'm not making enough money. I can't provide the safety, the security for my family that I truly desire. I'm going to have to work till I'm 60, 70 or 80. Maybe I'll have to work till I'm 90. So we're going to solve this money problem today. So what makes today's session different, ladies and gentlemen? Well, first of all, I have nothing to sell to you. There's nothing for sale. All I want to do is provide you with some practical ideas that you can implement today. So relax. Please put your wallets away. Please put your credit cards away. Turn off your internet banking. Turn off your PayPal. There's nothing for sale. You're here, and I'm going to give you practical ideas that you can implement immediately. But if you do stick around the end, I'm going to get my credit card out. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my wallet out, and I'm going to swipe my credit card. And for 3 people, I've got a prize for you. For 3 of you, I'm going to give away a big prize. But for everybody here, I also have a 3-part audio training. This 3-part audio training that I'm going to give you will help you get clarity on your goals. It'll help you focus on what makes money, and it'll also give you the confidence to grow. So that's for everybody. For those who stick around all the way to the end, I'm going to show you how you can win one of 3 prizes that are valued at $1,500 US. You'll get to spend half a day with me. You'll be able to use my latest artificial intelligence to measure your levels of emotional intelligence so you can identify your inner potential. I'll also provide you with 16 training videos, and I'm going to show you how to overcome fear and unlock more of your potential. So stick around to the end, and I'm going to show you how you can be the winner of this. Okay, let me ask you a couple of questions. Are you worried that you're not going to make enough money to survive? Now, I don't want you to tell me out loud, but I just want you to answer this within yourself. Are you worried that you are not going to make enough money to survive? Are you frustrated by seeing other people succeed faster than you? When I was an athlete, I was an Australian champion athlete, and I set a goal to be an Australian champion. And I was 16 when I set that goal. And you wouldn't believe it. When I was 17, somebody else won the Australian championships. And I was really angry because I worked really hard. I trained, I ate clean, I didn't drink alcohol, I wasn't smoking cigarettes. And I thought I was doing all the right things, but somebody won the prize and I didn't. So I reset my goal. The next year, I was turning 18. I thought maybe when I'm 18, I can be the Australian champion. Someone else won the Australian championships and I didn't. And I started to get frustrated because I was seeing other people succeed faster than me. Let me tell you another secret. I was 21. I still had the same goal. And at 21, I didn't win the Australian championships. I had the goal again the next year and I was age 22 and I still didn't win the Australian championships. And I started to think to myself, is there something wrong with me? Because we all have the same goal. Everybody wanted to win the Australian championships. They were having sex, I wasn't. They were doing drugs, I wasn't. They were drinking alcohol, they were all sinners, but they were winning. And I was really confused. Has this happened to you before? Do you get frustrated when you look around and you see other people succeeding faster than you? Have you had that feeling before? Or am I the only person on the planet who's had that? Okay, good. I'm not alone. Well, we're going to solve that problem today. Do you fear making a mistake or losing your stability? How do you know if you fear making a mistake or losing your stability? Well, how you know that is because you have a dream and you're still sitting on the sideline. You have a dream and you're seeing other people live out your dream. You have a dream, but you're worried that you're going to lose money. You're worried that you're going to lose time. You're worried that you're going to make a mistake. You're worried that you're going to fall over and graze your knees. If that's you, we're going to learn to solve that problem today. Do you doubt or compare yourself to others? Do you say it's easy for him because he's younger? It's easier for her because she's older? It's okay for her because her partner makes $100,000 a year. It's okay for them. And you start to doubt and compare yourself to others. If I was just a little bit taller, I could be more successful. If my hair was a little bit darker, I'd be more successful. Have you ever found that you've compared yourself to others? Maybe if I was male, I would have succeeded. Maybe if I was female, I might have succeeded. Maybe if I was just born in a different country, I wouldn't have half of these problems. Have you had these problems before? Because I know in my life, I've made a lot of comparisons from me to other people. And when I started to compare myself to others, I started to second guess myself. And that was a big problem. Do you find that you're getting in your own way? Some people say to me, Daniel, I'm my own worst enemy. So if any of these problems are getting in your way, perhaps you're doing this. Perhaps you're just second guessing yourself. And this has been a big problem for many successful people. And it was their biggest obstacle to success. And so if you're second guessing yourself, then this training today is really for you. So I want you to think about this. What is it within you that holds you back the most? What is it within you that holds you back the most? And I want you to think about it. You know, you go to bed at night and you ask yourself this question, what's wrong with me? Have you asked yourself that before? What's wrong with me? I've taken all the courses. I've read all the self-help books. I watch all the YouTube. I listen to all the podcasts. It works for everybody else, but it ain't working for me. And you start to ask yourself, what's wrong with me? Who has experienced that before? Give me a show of hands. Who has experienced that before? Okay. Well, here's something interesting. It's not what you know that hurts you. It's what you don't know that hurts you. So you've already discovered all the things that are holding you back. But you've discovered it all, but those weren't the things that were holding you back. It's what you don't know that's hurting you. And so we have to bring this up to the surface today. So that's the bad news, but the good news is this. I'm going to share with you 5 success strategies today so you can stop second guessing yourself and you can start to gain your competitive advantage. I'm going to provide you 5 strategies to make you feel more confident. I'm going to give you 5 strategies to help you make more money. And these are the 5 results that you're going to walk away today. You're going to start to feel in control of your life. You're going to learn skills to make more money. You're going to be able to overcome your fears. You're going to be able to create unshakable confidence. And you're going to be able to gain your competitive advantage today. And there's 3 things that you need to know before we go any further. The first thing you need to know is every master was once a disaster. You met Dr. John D. Martini. He was a disaster when he started. He was an absolute disaster. But today he's a master. And every master was once a disaster. The second thing that you've got to remember, everyone with money today was without money in the past. This is the truth. And thirdly, everyone with confidence today was fearful in the past. No doctor says, this is a confident baby. The baby's born, they say, it's a boy. It's a girl. It has 5 fingers and 5 toes. No doctor ever says, this one's been born confident. This one is born rich. No, that doesn't happen. What you've got to remember is this. Every master was once a disaster. Everyone with money today was without money in the past. And everyone with confidence today was fearful in the past. And this is just a reality. But I believe that we forget this along the way. But it's just a little reminder. For those of you who are meeting me for the first time, my name is Daniel Tolson. In my life so far, I have served more than 9,500 business people globally, and I've helped them achieve their goals faster and easier. I was a former Australian champion athlete. After I failed many times, I became the Australian champion. I have co-led a team of more than 17,000 cabin crew, and I'm happily married and a father of 2 beautiful children. Here I am. This is my father. He's got a beautiful moustache. That is probably one of the best attributes of my father. He's had that moustache ever since I was born, for the past 40 years, super consistent. He was a farmer. My father was born, he had rheumatic fever, no competitive advantage, all of his teeth fell out, and he lived in an iron lung. And he was a farmer for his whole life, but become very successful. My mother, her father was in the Royal Australian Air Force. She travelled from town to town in the Air Force and then started her career as a hairdresser. And then after that, my mum got into porn. My mum was in porn. My father was in porn. And they end up owning a pawnbroking business. And a pawnbroking business is where you go borrow money on your second-hand goods, just to clarify that one. And there's me on the left-hand side. That's me as a little baby boy. And a couple of the things that I've achieved, I've travelled the world as an athlete, Australian champion athlete. I've been an extreme games competitor. I've been featured in mainstream media all around the world. And I've also launched very many successful businesses around the world. I learned how to water ski from my father, and there's me and my father with the same moustache, 35 years apart, and that's us water skiing in Dubai. And there's the proof that after 9 years of failure, I become an Australian champion athlete. After 9 years of watching everybody else achieve the goal, I finally got there. And I always thought there was something wrong with me. But then I went on to leading a team of 17,000 people at Emirates Airline. I've served many, many large stages around the world and work with people on how to grow their businesses, including consulting celebrities on mainstream media and then training groups of up to 1,000 people at a time. And this was my most recent trip over to Malaysia. So here's something that I want you to take away. I just want you to remember, all you need to do is do what successful people do, and you will get the same results. That's it. Do what successful people do, and you will get the same results. I'm telling you that because I was born with a lot of learning difficulties. I was tone deaf. I couldn't hear the difference between sounds. I had curvature of the spine. My neck was out of alignment. My cranium grew in a really weird shape, and it used to push down on my brain, which gave me a learning disability called linear sequential learning disability. The teachers, the doctors said, Daniel is learning disabled. He's stupid, he's dumb, and he'll never succeed. But I just didn't believe them. I didn't believe them. I knew there was a little superpower in this boy. I knew there was something special inside of me, but everybody told me I was stupid. Everybody told me I was dumb. I must have been dumb because I didn't believe them. And I learned from one of my mentors at the age of 18. My mentor said to me, Daniel, if you just do what successful people do, you will get the same result. So I developed Epstein-Barr virus. I developed chronic fatigue. I had glandular fever. And I was so sick at school that I couldn't finish school. So my schooling, my education finished at age 16. And they said, Daniel will be a labourer for the rest of his life. He will amount to nothing. And that's what they used to say. But I met a mentor, and my mentor said, Daniel, if you just do what successful people do, you will get the same result. And he taught me how to set goals. He showed me how to develop my emotional intelligence. He showed me how to overcome my fears and my doubts and to stop comparing myself to others. And within 6 months of learning these same strategies, I was making more money than my school principal. I was earning 6 figures at 19. At 19 and a half, I bought my first house. After 6 months of work, I never finished school. At 21, I was buying my second house and I had $500,000 worth of real estate. I was making more than all of my teachers. And it was because I just did what successful people did. I don't have a university education. I don't have certifications. What I learned to do is what successful people do. And if you do what successful people do, you will get the same result. Believe me or not, let's test it. If you go down to Sainsbury's, if you go down to your local shopping centre, you can buy cake mix, can't you? You can buy cake mix. You can buy cake mix. You can follow the instructions on the back. You can put the egg in. You can put the water in. You put the milk in. You set the oven to 350 degrees. You mix it all together. You put the cake mix into the oven, and within 90 minutes, you pull out a perfect cake. And you've never baked a cake before. Isn't that amazing? If you follow a recipe for success, you can produce the same result as the expert took to figure it out. It took them 20 or 30 years to figure out how you create this instant cake, but you can do it in the snap of the fingers. True or false, ladies and gentlemen? True or false? Give me a nod of the head if that's true. Good. So if you just do what successful people do, you will get the same results. And I'll give you an example. One of my clients, Lisa, she was doubting herself. She was second-guessing herself. She was held back by fears of rejection. She had fears of criticism. She had self-limiting beliefs about her income. And she was comparing herself to others. And she couldn't get what she wanted. So I showed her a couple of little secrets of the trade on how to become more confident, how to overcome your self-limiting beliefs. And then she says this. She says it's tough to do it on your own. She said when you have a coach that helps you overcome self-limiting beliefs, you double and triple your income. And there it is. There's the proof. Within 3 weeks, Lisa made an additional €1 million worth of sales in her business. And so here's the trick, ladies and gentlemen. If you do what successful people do, you will get the same results. And so what I want you to remember today, and I want everybody to write this down, one new idea is enough to make you rich. Lisa learned one thing from me, and it made her €1 million inside of 3 weeks. So one idea is enough to make you rich. You don't have to remember 50 things that I tell you. All you've got to do is to take away one thing, and one new idea is enough to make you rich. So my 2 goals for our time together today, my first goal is to give you more practical ideas per minute than any other speaker. That's my goal. And secondly, I want to be that one person in your life who unconditionally believes in you. Now, I know a lot of you have struggled throughout your life because there hasn't been a good role model for you. There hasn't been somebody to believe in you unconditionally. I know the statistics. Before you were 18, your family had told you more than 148,000 times what you can't do. They said to you no 148,000 times before you were 18. Did you know this? This is a global statistic. The average 18-year-old has heard the word no 148,000 times. Do you know what that does to somebody? It causes the fear of criticism. It causes the fear of rejection. And then people stop pursuing their goals. I want to be that person in your life who says yes. I want to be that person in your life who says, yes, you can do it. I'm going to do the opposite. So that's my goal for us today. I want to believe in you unconditionally. So let's begin, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the old way. This is you on the left-hand side before COVID. What you used to do, you'd go get educated once, you'd get a secure job, you'd save, and then you'd retire. And after you retire, then you'd chase your dreams. And the old style was living to work. But today we've had a big change on the planet, and this is the new way. What you do now is you get ongoing education. The education keeps going. You're responsible for creating your own financial security. You're going to start to work on your terms, and you're going to start to live a life on your terms. And what happens here is you've got to upgrade your operating system. So once you upgrade your operating system, then you achieve peace of mind. And peace of mind, ladies and gentlemen, is the number one common goal of all people on this planet. What do we want? We just want to be happy. And so today I'm going to show you how to get what you want on your terms, not what your mum and dad wanted for you, not what your teachers said, not what your boss tells you what to do. I want you to do this on your terms. In order to do that, you've got to upgrade your operating system. Everything in life starts with a stimulus. There's always a trigger. There's an internal thought, or there's something that happens outside of you. Once the stimulus comes into play, we then have our personality traits and the environment that these things take place. So I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine you're walking down the street. It's daytime, and you hear a stick break behind you. Well, it's daytime. There's nothing to fear. But imagine you're walking down that same street. It's 1 a.m. in the morning. It's pitch black. It's raining. And you hear a stick crack just behind you. What happens? It's a totally different response because the environment is different. The street's the same, but it's now nighttime and the boogeyman's come out. So all of us have personality traits, and depending where we are at any given time, the environment, it depends how these different stimuluses impact us. Once we have a stimulus, our first response is emotional. What you've got to remember is that humans are 100% emotional. The first response to anything, we call it precognition, is an emotional response. After the emotion, then we start to think, and then we take action. However, if we experience a lot of fear, if we're experiencing a lot of guilt, if we're experiencing a lot of disappointment, what can happen is we can have an emotional hijacking, and the emotion becomes so strong, the emotion becomes so powerful that we can't think. The emotion bypasses the cognition and we go straight into action. But what happens for most of you is you go into an emotional hijack and you have a lack of action, and it's called procrastination. Procrastination is fear-based. It's because you've had an emotional hijack and now you freeze. The fight, flight, or freeze response, you go, my gosh, what do I do now? And then you freeze. And so we have to learn to bypass that if we want to become more successful. Is this making sense so far, ladies and gentlemen? Give me a wave if this is making sense so far. Good, give me a thumbs up. Are you enjoying yourself? If you think this sucks, give me a thumbs down, and that's okay. I'll still love you, and I still believe in you. All feedback is good. Okay, strategy number 1, ladies and gentlemen. Let's shift into first gear. The first strategy we need to look at today is setting goals. And 97% of the adult population fail to set goals. So my question is, why don't people set goals? So I want to hear from you. We're going to do a round robin. You're going to turn on your microphones and you're going to talk to me. And I want to hear some of your ideas. I would like to hear from you why people don't set goals. So Hazel, good morning to you. I can see you there in your beautiful blue jacket. Good morning. How are you doing there?
Lemon frozen.
Yeah, it's cold. It's cold here in Taiwan. Hazel, let me ask you, in your opinion, and there's no right or wrong, why don't people set goals? What would you say?
I fear of failure.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. Give Hazel a round of applause. Beautiful. Lena Ali asking you the same question. Why don't people set goals? In your opinion, why don't people set goals?
Well, they've been setting the same goals every year and they don't achieve it. So just stop setting the goal.
Absolutely. Excellent. Very well said. I can see Jill smiling at me. Jill, good morning. Why don't people set goals?
Good morning. Because they're scared. They're scared of what the goal might make them change. They don't want to let go because people don't like changing.
100%. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Well, I'm going to take that and I'm just going to summarize it into 4 key points. And these are the 4 major reasons that I've discovered. The first one, they have a feeling of guilt and unworthiness. That's the first reason why people don't set goals. Secondly, they don't know how to set goals. Hey, I'm 40. I know you're thinking I look 50, but I'm only 40. My father, he's 73, and do you know what? He's never taught me how to set goals. Imagine that. He's 73, and he's never taught me how to set goals. And so what happens is a lot of people don't know how to set goals. I was lucky I had a mentor at age 19 who showed me how to set goals. The third reason why people don't set goals is because of fear of rejection or a fear of criticism. Now, most people say, Daniel, I don't have a fear of rejection. I don't have a fear of criticism. Well, that's probably true if you're in the 1% of the population. See, ladies and gentlemen, 99% of the adult population have a fear of rejection and a fear of criticism. And the reason why they don't start their business is because they're so afraid of rejection. They're so afraid of taking their concept to market. They're so afraid to take their artwork to market that they might get rejected. Somebody might say that sucks. They might criticize it. And so it's the fear of the rejection that holds people back. Remember, selling is talking. But some people are so afraid of talking and sharing the benefits in case of criticism. They're afraid of internet trolls and keyboard warriors that they don't even begin. The fourth reason why people don't set goals is the fear of failure. They're afraid that they're going to start. They're afraid that they're going to start and they're going to put a lot of time in and it's not going to work out. They're afraid they're going to put a lot of energy in and it's not going to work out. They're afraid that they're going to work really hard for a couple of years and it's going to fail. And so what happens is they say, well, why would I even set goals? If I'm going to do all of that hard work and it doesn't work out, why would I do it? And these are the 4 key reasons why people don't set goals. Is this making sense so far? Give me a little wave if this is making sense. And you might see yourself in some of those 4 ideas. And don't be ashamed, ladies and gentlemen, if you see yourself in any of these 4 areas, because we're all in perpetual growth. Like Adam said before, we're all at different stages. I know billionaires who are still afraid to fail. It doesn't go away. We've got to learn to regulate it. But the difference is these billionaires, these self-made millionaires, they just don't let it stop them. They have to face the same fears. They have to face the same criticism every single day. They just don't allow it to stop them. And I know all of these 4 things have held me back. And I've got to constantly believe in myself and overcome them. It never disappears. It's like money. You just don't get paid once and you never have to work again. What happens to the money? Somebody puts it in your hand and the tax man puts his hand out. And then the electricity department put their hand out. Then the internet company put their hand out. Then the telco puts their hand out. Then the insurance company. And then your kids put their hand out. And how much you got left? Oh, there's nothing left. I better start again. It's like going to the gym. Would you go to the gym once and say, that's it, I'm done for life? I'll go to the gym once and I'll never have to go again. No! It's an ongoing process. It's like overcoming these fears. Once you master your fears at 6 figures, you've got to master them again at 7 figures. Because the people that you're going to serve when you're making 7 figures is very different to the people that you serve at 6 figures. And then once you get to 8 figures and 9 figures, you've got to face these fears all over again. And so I just want you to remember that you've got to constantly set goals. And if you're not, then maybe you're feeling guilty. Maybe you don't feel worthy of success. Maybe you've forgotten how to set goals. Maybe you have a new fear of rejection, and maybe you're fearing failure once again. So let's keep that in mind as we have a look at the emotion equation. One negative emotion can interrupt your biology, your biochemistry for 4 hours. So if you have a fear of failure, that'll interrupt you for the next 4 hours. If you're feeling guilty or unworthy of success, then that feeling can interrupt you for 4 hours. And what happens is you have an unproductive day. But the interesting thing about negative emotions like fear, shame, guilt, disappointment, for every one negative emotion that you experience, you need to experience 5 positive emotions just to cancel the other negative one out. It's like eating 1 hamburger and having to run around the block 5 times. It's a lot of hard work. The next thing is negative events act as multipliers. And so if you're having a lot of stress throughout the day, 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 + 1 equals 3. 3 + 1 = 6. They start to become multipliers. And so we've got to be mindful of how we structure our day so we're not letting these negative emotions get in our way. So where does this all lead to? Well, we're talking about goal setting. So if we don't have goals, maybe we have a fear of failure. And then what happens is we start to have these emotional hijacks, and then we start to procrastinate. So what does no goals mean? Well, what no goals means, if you have no goals, you have no future. If you have no future, there is no thing to live for. If you have no thing to live for, then you will experience the fear of the future. If you have a fear of the future, you'll have no motivation. If you have no motivation, then there will be no money and there will be no activity. And so goals are really, in my opinion, the master skill of success. So when you set goals, you go from fearing the unknown to feeling confident and in control of your future. And there's a key reason. It's because when you set goals, it changes your mood. Your body releases dopamine. When you set a goal, your body releases dopamine. It changes your mood. Have you noticed that when you set a goal, when you choose a direction in your life, you get excited? You're like, I'm going to kill this. I want to do it. Yes. And you start to get motivated. Once you get motivated, you start to take action. You start to get movement. So that's the first thing that happens when you set goals. The second thing that happens is that you get an adrenaline rush. You start to take action. When your body releases adrenaline, you have faster reactions. Your heartbeat speeds up and you start to develop sugar in your body and you start to have more fuel. Have you noticed once you've had a couple of little wins, you get that momentum? It's like a snowball. You get that snowball rolling down the hill effect. It takes 95% of your energy just to begin, ladies and gentlemen. But once you begin, then you can start to cruise and then you get that snowballing effect. And that comes from the adrenaline. Once you have a win and you get success, your body releases serotonin. And this is nature's happy drug. And one of my mentors, Dr. Edward de Bono, he says that humans need to have a victory every 6 weeks. So if you have a victory every 6 weeks, your body's going to be flooded with serotonin. You can't feel depressed. You can't feel anxious when you have a lot of serotonin in your body. So these are the benefits of setting goals. So goal setting has been around for years. I remember 1954, Peter Drucker wrote an article in what was called the management by objectives concept. Goals are nothing new. It's us who just haven't caught up. 1967, Dr. Edward de Bono was talking about goal setting. 1981, Professor Robert S. Rubin wrote about them in the article of organizational psychology. So if we just do what successful people do, which is set goals, we're going to become more successful. So I'm going to give you an overview here of the different goals that you need to set in your life right now. I'm going to give you what I call ISML goals. You've got to have goals for the next 24 hours. You've also got to have short-term goals, which are for the next 7 days. You also need to set goals for the next 28 days, and you should also have some long-term goals a year from now. And what happens is every time you have a win, every 24 hours, you get that hit of dopamine, adrenaline, and serotonin. These are nature's happy drugs. You feel alive. When you have a win every 7 days, you feel alive. When there's something to live for every 28 days, there's always something out on the horizon. And when you have a goal a year from now, you know what? You're still alive. You've still got something to live for. And you get that snowball effect. You start to get that momentum. And these are the 4 best periods to have goals. Now, the 3 best types of goals that you can set for yourself are what I call BDH goals. Be, do, and have. B stands for be. Who do you want to become? You need to have goals for who you want to become or who or what you want to be known for. It doesn't matter what's happening in the economy. It doesn't matter what's happening around the world. No one can get in the way of your B goals. That's the first rule. If you want to become somebody, nobody can stop you. The tax man can't take it away from you. D is for do goals. What do you want to do in this lifetime? Where do you want to go? These are great goals to have. Also, H is for have. What do you want to have in your possession or what do you want to own? And it's important to have these 3 different styles of goals as you go through your life. Who do you want to be? What do you want to do? What do you want to have? And as you decide on what you want to have, you then put it into a SMART formula. Now, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and towards what you want. Now, S, you've got to have a clear, concise goal that you can set your eyes on. It's also got to be measurable, because there's a rule in success that says measurable goals keep you motivated. If you can't measure your goal, you can't get motivated. A is for achievable. The goal that you set has to be within reach for you, and it's not setting you up for failure. R is for realistic, and it's got to be relevant for you in your future. If you set goals that are not relevant for you, they'll never work for you. When you set your goals, they've got to be relevant for you and your future. Your future is where you're going. And T is for timed and towards what you want. When it comes to goal setting, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to be bold and just say it how you want it. If you want to be rich, say how much money you want to make. Don't say I want to be rich. For some people, having $1 in your hand today is rich, especially if you're $100,000 in debt. I want you to be bold. If you want to be rich, say exactly what you want. If you want to have $1 million of investments, say I want to have $1 million worth of investments. If you want to have $10 million portfolio, say I want a $10 million portfolio. You've got to learn to say it how you want it. If you don't say it how you want it, you'll never be able to hit that goal. So say it how you want it. Be bold. So these are some of the most important areas of goal setting. You've got to have immediate, short, medium, long-term goals. You've got to have your be, do, and have goals. And then you've got to put them into a SMART formula. And just remember, this is the golden rule. If you can't see it in your mind, you can't hold it in your hand. So if you can't get clarity on what this goal is, if you don't know what it looks like, if you don't know what it sounds like, if you don't know what it feels like to have this goal, it's almost impossible to hit it. So the success rule is if you can't see it in your mind, then you can't hold it in your hand. So I want you to take a moment. I want you to take a moment and I just want you to close your eyes. And I just want you to imagine what you want in the next 12 months. Is it somebody that you want to become? Is it something that you want to do? Is it something that you want to have? And I want you to imagine that you had a magic wand. I want you to imagine you had a magic wand just like this one. And I want you to imagine you could wave that magic wand and you could be, do, and have anything that you ever wanted in the next 12 months. And I just want you to use some no-limit thinking. If you could wave that magic wand and be, do, or have anything that you've ever wanted, what would you want? I just want you to ponder and look out into the future for 60 seconds. Because if you can see it in your mind, then you can hold it in your hands. Do you want to be a famous speaker? Would you like to author your first book? Would you like to start your own business? Or is there a certain income that you'd like to earn? Because all of you are at different stages of your life. Do you want to make $100,000 a year? Do you want to make $1 million a year? Excellent. Good. So let's talk. I want to hear from you. What is your goal? I want to hear what your goal is. What is it that you want in the next 12 months? Is it a be goal? Is it a do goal? Or is it a have goal? And I want you to be bold. So starting with Linda Lee, Wayne Howe, what would you like to be, do, or have in the next 12 months, Linda?
Next 12 months, 100x my investment.
Say it how you want it. What do you want? What do you want? Say it. What do you want?
100x my investment.
No. You got to say exactly what you want. You got to be really specific. So what is it that you want?
I want to make lots of money.
Unspecific. You got to be really specific. Lots of money for some people. Let's say you're in $100,000 worth of debt and you find $1 on the ground. You're rich because now you've got more money. So when it comes to goal setting, Linda, you've got to practice no limit thinking And you've got to say it how you want it without the fear of criticism. What do you want?
By the end of December this year, I'm going to make 1 million.
Excellent. Give a round of applause. Good job. See, there's a big difference, ladies and gentlemen. Your conscious mind is your goal setter, but your unconscious mind is your goal getter. And you're going to give your unconscious mind a specific goal to lock onto. Because when you say, I want to make $1 million in the next 12 months, it gets busy. Your unconscious mind generates all of your behaviors, and it activates a part of your unconscious mind called your reticular activation system. Your reticular activation system looks for a match of your most dominant thought. And so what it does now, Linda says, I want to make $1 million in the next 12 months, and it constantly searches the horizon 24 hours a day for a way to earn this type of money. But you've got to be very specific. Your unconscious mind talks the language of a 7-year-old. And so you've got to say, I will make $1 million in the next 12 months. So it's got to have a very specific number to lock onto. But if you say to your unconscious mind, I want to make more money, literally, if you walk down the street and you find a pound on the ground, honestly, do you have more money? If you find a pound on the ground and you pick it up, do you have more money? The answer is yes, it's a pound more. And the unconscious mind says, job's done, you technically have more money. But you don't want it to stop at a pound, do you? You want it to go all the way to $1 million. So be very, very specific. So remember the rule. No goal, no future. Strategy number 2. Once you get your goals, what you've got to do is you've got to start to break it down. So the old question is, how do you eat an elephant? How do you eat an elephant? How do you eat anything? Well, you do it one bite at a time. And so what happens is after we set a goal, then what happens is the overwhelm kicks in. You start to look at your goal and you start to feel overwhelmed. You're like, gee whiz, how do I go from nothing to $1 million? And you feel overwhelmed. Sometimes you even wonder and you ask yourself, how will I ever achieve that? I've never earned that before. How will I get there? Some people also start to second guess themselves. They say the number and they go, ah! Have you done that before? I remember when I set a goal to be Australian champion, I went, ah! Not possible. No, it was possible, but I was already second guessing myself as soon as I set the goal. So what we've got to learn to do is we've got to learn to break our goal down to the ridiculous. And so what I want you to do, if you've got a financial goal, this is really easy, and I'm going to demonstrate it with Linda's. So what happens is overwhelm happens when the goal is just too big. So let's say Linda sets a goal for $1 million. That's a big jump. If you're going from 0 to $1 million, that's a really big jump. So what we've got to learn to do, and I learned this when I was in real estate, we've got to break it down to the ridiculous. So $1 million goal divided by 12 months, it's only $83,000 per month. And so going from 0 to 83,000 is much easier than going from 0 to $1 million. And so your unconscious mind starts to say, well, you know what? I've made $80,000 in income before. I've made $150,000. I know what it's like to have that type of money. This is familiar. So it gets a sense of familiarity. But then if you take the 83,000 and you divide it by 4 because there's 4 weeks in the month, now that's only $20,833 per month. So your unconscious mind says, well, that seems even more reasonable. It's not that it's a week, it's that seems more reasonable. So you start to go back through your past history, all of your memories. Hey, I've had $20,000 before. I think this is going to be easier. So once you take it down to a week, you then divide it by 7 and you say to yourself, wow, to make $1 million, I've only got to bring in $2,976 this week. 0 to 2,976 is a much smaller step than 0 to $1 million. Would you agree with that? And so what happens, the unconscious mind says, that's absolutely possible. But then when you break it down to your daily goal, you might say, well, I'm going to work 40 hours this week. And so you break it down. Now it's only $74 Something like that. Oh, no, that's not right. What is it again? Okay, let's start again. $1 million divided by 12. We'll do the numbers here together. Here we go. Here's the formula. 1 million divided by 12 divided by 4 is 20,000. Divided by 7 is 2,976 per day. If we divide that by 24, wow, I only have to earn $124 per hour. I'm sure all of you have a product or in service in your business that sells for more than $124. 0 to 124 seems quite reasonable. Now, what about my 60-minute goal? If I was going to earn dollar to dollar, now I only have to earn $2 per minute. Linda, could you do something that earned you $2 per minute? Could you do that? Ladies and gentlemen, could you do something that earned you $2 per minute? There's a man in Sydney. And he's a beggar. He earns $1,000 a day begging on the street. If I walked down the street and asked everybody for $1, I bet 100 people would give me $1, one after another. Here's $1, here's $1, here's $1, here's $1. Here's the point. When you break it down into bite-sized chunks, your unconscious mind says, this is possible. And what happens is the overwhelm disappears and what you get left with is confidence. Because your unconscious mind can see it. And when you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. All of us can imagine having $2 in our hand. It's a lot easier to imagine than $1 million. So now you just got to break it down. Is this making sense, ladies and gentlemen? You've got to break it down to the ridiculous. Okay. So this helps you with your confidence. But what helps you with your confidence is your why. Why are you doing all of this, ladies and gentlemen? Why are you here? Why have you sacrificed your time today? Why have you sacrificed your energy? Why are you setting these goals? And what happens is if we don't have a big enough why, then we run out of energy. We run out of reasons to get back up. We get knocked down and we say to ourselves, why would I get back up? There's no reason. With your goal, you have to have a lot of reasons to get back up. You've got to have a lot of reasons to get knocked down and to get back up again. There's an old Japanese proverb that says, get knocked down 8 times, get back up 9. And so you're going to have a lot of failure before you have a lot of success. But you've got to know why you're doing this. So what is your why? Why are you doing this? One of my whys is my family. This is one of my whys. I want to create a lovely life for my wife. My wife demands handbags. She demands handbags, and I want to provide them for her. I would prefer to give my wife handbags than some other man, some other dirtbag. I'd rather buy her the handbags. My children, they want to have music lessons. They want to go to great schools. My children want to travel the world. Do I want my children traveling in economy class? No. Do I want them traveling in business class? No. Do I want them traveling in first class? Yes, I do. I want the best for my family. Do I want to send my children to an average school? No, I want them to go to Montessori. And so whenever I'm setting my goals, I'm looking at what is bigger than me? What is beyond me? If I achieve this, who else can benefit from this? What is your why? And that why has to be so big that it gets you out of bed in the morning. So I want you to imagine this. I want you to imagine you set a goal to increase your personal wealth. I want you to imagine you've set a goal to be rich. And I want you to imagine that goal that you want to earn $1 extra this year. Are you going to get out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning to earn an extra $1? Are you going to read another 50 self-help books this year to earn $1? Are you going to go order the courses and spend $10,000 just to earn another $1? No, what you'll do is you'll say, I'll have a shorter shower and I just won't turn on the air conditioner for a day and I'll save $1. See, if the goal is small, if the why is small, we just couldn't be bothered. So you've got to have a goal that excites you, but you have to have reasons that go beyond that. And when you have reasons that go beyond just the goal or the financial improvement, then you'll start to get true motivation, which we call intrinsic motivation. The intrinsic motivation is the motivation that sets you on fire from within. And that's the type of motivation you need to achieve your goals. So what is your why? Who is your why? Once you understand that, then you can be, do, and have anything that you've ever wanted. Strategy number 3. You've also got to learn to unlock your DNA. This is interesting. I learned this when I was 1999 I learned this. The average person uses less than 2% of their potential. Imagine that. You have got to where you are today using about 2% of your potential. We also know that 84% of the population have a feeling of unfulfilled potential. What is that? What is a feeling of unfulfilled potential? They look at their bank account and they go, that's disgusting. That's terrible. I'm so much more valuable than that. They look at the quality and the shape of their business and they go, after everything I've learned, this is it? Come on, I'm so much more capable than that. And 84% of the population have a feeling of unfulfilled potential. They feel that they have this superpower within them, but they're just not using it. And it bothers them. They're like, I should have so much more in my life. My relationships should be better. I should live in a bigger house. I should have a nicer car. I should have a bigger bank account. And 84% of the population have that feeling. But you've got to remember, we use as little as 2% of our potential. The third thing that I learned is that your DNA, what you're made of, you could stretch it to the sun and back 300 times. What does that tell you? You have unlimited potential. You can do, you can be, you can have anything that you've ever wanted. But what we do is we second guess ourselves. We get in our own way and we trip ourselves up. And we are our own worst enemies. There's nobody stopping you. And sometimes it's scary. You wake up in your 40s or your 50s and you go, holy moly. Nobody's coming to save me. Jesus is not coming to save me. God's not going to save me. I'm my own savior. I've got to do this myself. And it can be a rude shock. But we've got to where we are on as little as 2% of our potential. But we have so much more. And we've got to start to tap into it. So how do you tap into it? You've got to start to unlock more of your emotional intelligence. And for 2021, emotional intelligence is considered a critical skill. The good thing about emotional intelligence, it can be improved. Higher levels of emotional intelligence leads to better performance. And those with high emotional intelligence earn $29,000 per year more in every country. And emotional intelligence accounts for 58% of your daily success. So if you're following along...
Hey, Dan, sorry to interrupt. We've got about 2 or 3 minutes left.
Lovely. So if you're following along in your training manual, there's 5 pillars of emotional intelligence. The first pillar of emotional intelligence is self-awareness. This is understanding why I think and feel the way that I do. Self-regulation. This is about managing our emotions. This is about getting into and out of any emotional rut. It's getting past those fears of rejection. It's getting past those fears of failure. It's getting past those fears of the unknown. It's getting past the fears of losing our stability. The third pillar of emotional intelligence is motivation. And this is about working for reasons that go beyond money. We also have social awareness, which is the fourth pillar of emotional intelligence, and it's understanding the emotional makeup of other people. In today's business world, you have to become a psychologist. You've got to understand human psychology. And the better that you get along with people, the more opportunities that you're going to have in your life. Because if there's anything that you want, if you want to have a marriage, you need somebody else to be in a relationship with. If you want to grow your business, you need other people to take action in your business. And so you've got to get to know people really well. And then finally, you've got to have great social regulation. And this is about managing relationships and building networks. And they're 5 of the most critical skills that you need for 2021. So let's have a look here. These are the 5 strategies you need this year. You've got to set your goals. You've got to break them down. You've got to unlock more of your DNA. And you've really got to get to know your strengths. And you've got to develop in those 5 key areas of emotional intelligence. So one more question before we go today. Have you ever seen a snake slither back into its old skin? Have you ever seen that? Have you ever seen a snake slither back into its old skin? No, a snake wouldn't do that. So what it means is that you now have a choice, and you've got to make a choice. Do you go back and do what you've always done, or do you make some changes to today and head in a new direction and start to pursue what you want? So ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate that you've been here with me today, and thank you very much for being here with me today. You are some of the most important people in our society. And when you stop second guessing yourself and you gain your competitive advantage, you improve your life and the lives of the people that depend upon you. And today you've learned some of the most important tools to stop second guessing yourself. And your job is to continue to practice these tools until they become automatic. And at that point, you will gain your competitive advantage. So let me wrap up by saying the very best times of your life are in the future. The highest income years of your life are still yet to come, and the happiest moments of your life will be in the months and weeks ahead. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, your future is unlimited. So I appreciate that you've been here with me today, and I hope these ideas serve you well. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for your time.
Wow, fantastic.